Welcome to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the longest-running Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
We're always in control, and when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. 'Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Thursday, January the 29th. I am your host, Michael Leva, flying solo today as we got a lot to talk about in the world of the Miami Dolphins. We're going to talk about all the assistant coaches Miami's hired here the past, 24 to 48 hours. There's been a flurry of moves there, as well as, is Malik Willis really going to end up with the Miami Dolphins? I have a take on this I would like to share with the world, so we will talk about that as well. Excuse me. But before we get to that, as always, let's get the business aspect out of the way up front. This show today is brought to you by Caneswear. Everyone go to caneswear.com for the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. They also got you covered when it comes to the Miami Hurricanes, your two-time Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, the Heat, the Marlins, and every sports team in South Florida. Everyone go to caneswear.com. Caneswear.com. Their prices are the best. They beat all the other websites out there. And if you're in South Florida, stop by their shop at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida. Caneswear has it all. Caneswear.com. 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 Also, everyone, a shout out to everyone watching us live at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are a part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page. And wherever you are watching this show, make sure you subscribe. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Podchaser. Subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, smash that like button. Smash it right now. Smash it twice if you want. Smash that like button. Please make sure you also are subscribed to the channel. And super chats are open. Send me a super chat. I will read it on the air before the end of the show. It can be a question. It can be a comment. Let me know. Super chats are open, though. All right. The Miami Dolphins, Jeff Hafley is filling out his coaching staff. Some of the moves, a little bit not really surprising. He's leaning on people he has worked with with the Packers. So you got some guys from Green Bay, but Jeff also have some guys who are not from the Packers as well. So let's get right to it. Sorry, I got to get my notes. Offensive line coach. Yesterday, the Miami Dolphins announced they are hiring Zach Yenser as their offensive line coach. The past 2 seasons, Yenser's been the assistant offensive line coach of the Houston Texans. Before that, he was the offensive line coach for the University of Kentucky from 2022 to 2023. And before Kentucky, this is where this hire happens, folks. Before Kentucky, Yenser was on the same staff as Bobby Slowick, Miami's offensive coordinator, when they were both in San Francisco together. And as always, these, you hire people that you are familiar with, that you worked with before, that you know. So everyone's on the same page. Everyone's sort of rowing in the same direction. So Zach Yenser, who's been the assistant offensive line coach in Houston, he's been the offensive line coach in the SEC at the University of Kentucky, will now be the offensive line coach for the Miami Dolphins. He is replacing Butch Barry, who signed on to go with Mike McDaniel to the LA Chargers. So Butch Barry's now in LA as their offensive line coach. Miami Dolphins have Zach Yenser. Eric Stoodsville, I think I said that right. He's no longer the running backs coach in Miami, and God bless him. He survived a lot of coaching changes, but it was Jeff Hafley moved in a whole different way, and he has signed Liddell Betts for the running back coach role. Liddell Betts played in the NFL for a few years. I think in Washington was one of his stops. And last year, he was the running back coach for the New York Giants. Before that, he was a running back coach at Iowa for 4 years. And even though the Giants, weren't a great team last year and such, they ran the ball last year like a truck. So the Giants running game was pretty good. They had more yards in the 2025 regular season than teams like the Ravens, the Bears, and the Washington Commanders and the Bills. So that's Liddell Betts is the running back coach now in Miami. So that's a good hire, I think, as well. Doesn't have a lot of NFL experience as some of these other guys do. But if last year is any indication, with a bad Giants team too, sometimes you just need fresh blood. You can't keep the same people in the same roles forever. So Liddell Betts, the running backs coach. Aaron Wilson, NFL Insider, reported the Dolphins hired Wendell Davis as a defensive quality control coach. Now, he's had this role with the Packers since 2019. Jeff Hafley's been with the Packers 2024, 2025. Obviously, that pipeline from Green Bay to Miami in full effect. He's the second coach officially, I believe, who is from the Packers joining Miami. There's one more on the way coming that we know of for sure. But Wendell Davis is he's going to have the same job he had with the Packers as a defensive quality control coach. Not much on him. So he's going to coach. So that's his role, and Ryan Downard is the other one. He is the secondaries coach from Green Bay. So we have him as well. And it was announced this morning that the Miami Dolphins are poaching another Buffalo Bills assistant. Oh, nothing makes me so much happy when I hear we are poaching an assistant from the Buffalo Bills, especially one who's pretty good. Pete Thamel of ESPN reporting that the Miami Dolphins are hiring, I'm probably going to get this name wrong, Jamil Adi as their cornerbacks coach. He's been with the Bills in that role the past 2 seasons. He's been a coach since 2007, with most of experience being in the college ranks. He coached at West Virginia, Michigan, Cincinnati, Arizona, Minnesota, Georgia, and the U of Miami, all before jumping to the NFL and the Buffalo Bills these past 2 seasons. So you got Jamil Adadi coaching corners, Ryan Downard coaching the secondary, Wendell Davis as a defensive quality control coach. You got Sloak as the OC. You got Chris Tabor as a special teams coordinator. You got Liddell Betts as a running backs coach. Zach Yenzer as the offensive line coach, and Tyke Tolbert as the wide receiver coach. The staff is starting to come together. Some very experienced, respected guys. Got some younger guys who seem like, in the case of Liddell Betts, and I'd say this cornerback coach for the Bills, they're younger, but, they got the rocket on their back here that they are they did some great work in their few years in the NFL. So I would say all in all, I know people are going to be hung up on the Slowick hire, and I'm not trying to change anyone's mind on that. It is what it is. But if you just take that one out and put it to the side, I think the rest of the staff, if you're a fan of the Dolphins, you got to be pretty pleased with. Looks pretty good. So, yeah, so that's where they are with the coaching staff, and I expect more hires to be announced soon. Once it sounds like the Raiders are waiting to hear on Clint Kubiak, and if they don't get him, they might go somewhere. I don't think Weaver is even up for that job. So it's pretty much once we find out if Weaver has the Arizona job or not, then the Miami Dolphins will announce Sean Dugan as their defensive coordinator. And how do you know this is a done deal? It will happen because the Packers have already replaced him. Sean Dugan was their linebackers coach. That everyone knows he's coming to Miami. The Packers went out there yesterday and signed a linebackers coach. So it's just whenever this Weaver news drops, that's when they will announce Sean Dugan as their defensive coordinator in Miami. All right, real quick, everyone, check out FinEvan.com. FinEvan.com, largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, please be sure you sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra. We are going to do Super Bowl boards, I believe, where you can get some numbers and chance to win some money, but you have to be a Dolphins Talk Extra member to play. Patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. We have contests with prizes. We have a private message board, bonus podcast. After this show, I got to do a Royal Rumble preview exclusively for extra members. So patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. Okay, see, we have a super chat. I'm going to save that, Patrick, because that's going to be on our next topic. Okay, well, all these new coaches coming to Miami, and a lot of former Packers coming to Miami. You got a former Packer GM. You got a former Packer head coach. And that Packer pipeline from Green Bay to Miami is happening. And which has led to speculation since the Dolphins need a quarterback. That's right. Tua is not coming back. If you don't believe me, listen to the show I did earlier this week. Tua ain't coming back. It ain't happening. 0.0% chance of that happening. There's been a lot of chatter that soon-to-be free agent quarterback Malik Willis from Green Bay will find his way down to Miami to play quarterback next season. Willis is a free agent. He's going to command money, but I think some fans are thinking he's going to get almost like a Tua-like contract, which he won't. He's probably going to get more like a Justin Fields contract that he got. 2 years, $40 million, with about $30 million guaranteed or so. So a 2-year deal, $15 million per year each year. And because the contract is short, you're not going to be tied to him for a long time or anything like that. Malik Willis is 6'1", 225 pounds. He was a third-round pick in 2022 by the Tennessee Titans. And in 2024, the Green Bay Packers traded for Malik Willis. They only had to give up a 7th-round pick. And the reason the Packers traded for him, there's a lot of reports that John Eric Sullivan, the new Miami Dolphins general manager, was the force behind making the trade for Malik Willis. Now, Willis's time with the Titans is very forgettable. He only played in 11 games. He started 3. They were 1-2 when he started the games. He threw 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That's why the Titans wanted to move on from him. They didn't see anything in him. They go, this isn't working. It's, 3rd-round pick, but it's failed. So Green Bay gave up their 7th-round pick. Now, when in Green Bay, the light bulb went off for Malik Willis. Played in the same amount of games, 11. Started the same amount of games, 3. Instead of going 1-2, he went 2-1. Instead of 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, he threw 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. Pretty much opposite in every way of everything he did with the Titans. And the completion percentage in 2024 and 2025 in Green Bay, in 2024, his completion percentage was 74.1. And this past year in 2025, it was 85.7. He also had 3 rushing touchdowns in Green Bay, 1 in 2024 and 2 this year. And he ran for over 100 yards rushing from the quarterback position in both seasons in Green Bay. People see a lot of potential there with Malik Willis. They think the light bulb finally went off. Green Bay unlocked that potential. And many believe, and it probably will happen, he is now in line to become a full-time NFL starter next year for a team that needs a quarterback. Now, Miami's not the only team that needs a quarterback. Let's write off the Raiders, though, because they're probably going to take Fernando Mendoza with the top pick of the draft. So let's cross them off. But you still got the New York Jets. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Cleveland Browns, who the hell knows what they're doing? They might be in the market for a quarterback. You got the Arizona Cardinals, and you got the Minnesota Vikings, as I would say, are all teams that kind of need a quarterback badly. 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 teams. You count us, that's 6 teams. Just right off the top of my head. So, it's not a sure thing he's going to come into Miami. But the Miami Dolphins got an ace up their sleeve. In fact, they got 2. One is named John Eric Sullivan. The other is named Jeff Hafley. That Green Bay connection and the many assistant coaches from the Packers now in Miami is going to help. Malik knows what he's signing up for with the Miami Dolphins. Jeff Hafley even said in an interview this week, he's worked with Malik Willis a lot the past 2 seasons because there's been many weeks where Willis would be the quarterback on a scout team and he would help get the defense ready, Hafley's defense ready for the game that week. So Hafley and Willis have worked together very closely, and he said they have a very good relationship. And he enjoyed working with him because he helped get the defense ready in Green Bay. Now, obviously, money matters. Obviously. But if Miami's offer is even close to the best offer in the ballpark, we're just talking about pennies difference here, I think the Dolphins got an edge. Now, I know some Miami Dolphins fans just want to tank in 2026. And they don't want to spend any money. And why pay for a quarterback? It's a waste of money. It's a waste of cap space. But as I've said for 2 weeks now, John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley were not hired to tank in year 1. They did not get the job of their dreams to try and not win in year 1. And unlike fans, they don't care about where you pick in round 1 of the draft. Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, who John Eric Sullivan was there for both of those draft picks, were both picked in the 20s. The Packers didn't have to tank to get a high pick. They were both picked in the 20s. These guys are not going to try to manipulate things to have a top 5 or top 3 draft pick next year. They want to, in this upcoming year, implement their system, start changing the culture, and sit down for this one, folks. They want to win. So I don't see Miami next year going with a quarterback room of Quinn Ewers and Mitchell Trubisky, or Quinn Ewers and Marcus Mariota, or Quinn Ewers and Trey Lance. That ain't happening. Because they're not going to put those guys out there and hoping that they lose to get the first or second pick of the draft. Not going to happen. Now, for some reason, if they can't sign Willis, that might be a fallback plan because you got to sign somebody. But that's not going to be plan A. I totally see these guys sitting down, and I'm sure they've already had this conversation. I'm sure they had this conversation in their interviews with Mr. Ross, Tom Garfinkel, Silman, Aikman, and Marino. Like, here's our plan. We're going to go out there and we're going to do our best to sign Malik Willis to a 2-year deal. And he's going to be our quarterback for 2 years. And yes, he'll compete with Quinn Ewers in training camp. He's going to have to earn it, but that's our plan, though. We're going to bring him in. And then they can sit back, hopefully try to win a few games with Willis, get the ships on course, right? And then there's no pressure to draft a quarterback in this year's draft, at least in the early rounds. And there's no pressure next year if they end up picking, 13th. If the right guy's not there, they're not going to reach. They don't have to. There's no pressure. They will find their quarterback in time. Of course they will. Of course they will. But they're going to try to get a capable guy here to hold down the fort who they think they can win with. You can rebuild without tanking. A lot of Miami Dolphins fans are currently still brainwashed by Chris Greer and all of his failed philosophies. That we must tank. We're rebuilds. Just tank. Normal teams don't tank. Normal teams can rebuild without tanking. Normal teams don't care if you're picking 1st, 7th, or 18th in round 1. Normal teams try to win games. And if you're worried about the Miami Dolphins not having enough salary cap space to sign Malik Willis if they want him, don't. This is the NFL. You restructure a few deals, you cut a few guys, you structure Willis's deal to do a smaller cap hit year 1, larger cap hit year 2. You can make salary cap space so freaking easy, it's laughable. It's really not that hard to make this work. Hell, Chris Greer did it. How hard can it be? And for the quarterback position, you will do that to make the money work. The position is too important. Okay? Willis isn't a savior. He's not going to come here and lead him to a Super Bowl. No one's saying that. But he's a mobile quarterback who's going to know the coaching staff, who's going to know the front office, who is improving over year at this point in his career to the point he's going to have numerous teams wanting him to be the starter this upcoming offseason. For Miami, it's the perfect fit at the perfect time. Will Miami get into a bidding war for Malik Willis? No, they're not dumb. But I don't think there's going to be a bidding war for Malik Willis. And with so many Packers coaches coming from Green Bay to join Hafley on his staff, with Hafley's prior relationship with Willis, with John Eric Sullivan's prior relationship with Wilson kind of being the guy who traded for him to get him in Green Bay, pushing the general manager, Brian Gutenhurst, to get that done, I think come March, we're going to see a few Packers free agents come down to Miami to help change the culture because of the familiarity. And I think out of all those free agents coming, I don't know how many. It might be a couple, 2, 3, 4. I don't know the number. But I think one of them will be Malik Willis. I think he's going to end up in Miami. And again, as a fan, you might not like it, but that's the reality. Okay? That's the reality. I think he's the guy who they're going to bring in to sort of hold the fort down for a couple years. Will they sort of got to wait out a lot of bad contracts, sort of fix the salary cap? Well, they still want to win in the meantime. No, everyone thinks they want to tank. They still want to win in the meantime and, get things straight. And then they'll make their move to get a franchise quarterback. They're in a rough spot. Everyone sees, well, look what Sean Payton did with the Broncos. They turned it around overnight. Yeah, they got lucky. Bo Nix fell in their lap. Look at the Patriots. They, turned it around relatively quick. Yeah, they were picking third. Drake May fell in their lap. Miami's not in that situation. They're picking 11th this year. There's no quarterbacks in this class outside of Mendoza, really, that you think will come in and start right away. Even Ty Simpson, nice guy, but he's even a few years away. And they're not going to just, their first season here say, well, let's just lose on purpose. That ain't happening either, folks. That's not what normal teams do. Not what normal people do. Chris Greer might have done it, but he was a failure. And it blew up in his face because the guy they ended up taking didn't even work out. At the moment, didn't work out. And now we're paying for it because of the salary cap. So that's my take. Look, and if they don't get Willis, then yeah, they probably are going to go with a Trey Lance type or a Mitchell Trubisky type or whoever, Marcus Mariota, whoever. They're going to get someone like that, and then they will compete with Quinn Ewers. And if you're a fan and that's what you're hoping for, great. That's what you're hoping for. But then don't call for Jeff Hafley to be fired after next year when they win 3 games. And come October, when it's a rough season, don't be yelling and screaming, because that's what signing those guys do. That's what's going to lead to. And if they can't afford Willis, that's fine. I'm not saying he's a savior, but I think if you sign him, you at least win 6 or 7, maybe 8 games, and you're at least a competent team next year. You put him with Waddle and Achane, and you give him, 2 weapons there. Maybe they add some other weapons in the draft. Maybe they had a tight end in the draft or something. Then you got something, you might have an offense that's like actually watchable in 2026. But so that's my take. We'll see. Long way to go. I'm sure we'll hear more about this. Look, it's already January 29th. February is a short month. Free agency is going to be here in a blink of an eye. And he's going to be one of those guys who the first couple of days of free agency is going to sign, if not the first day. So we're going to know here relatively quick, probably 30, 35 days, I want to say. What do we got? We got 29. We got, 2 more this month. February's got, 28, 30. Yeah, probably like 40 days. We're going to know. We're probably going to know in 40 days. Again, super chats are open. If you got a question or comment you want me to read on the air, send me a super chat. We did get one from our good friend Patrick Mullen. Patrick Mullen, we love you, Patrick. What's going on, buddy? Hey, Mike, if the Dolphins want Willis, they could probably get him, but the question is, what is the price? So my question is, who else could be involved in the bidding for his services? Yeah, I kind of just mentioned that. The teams I can see, and there's one team I'd really watch out for. I think the Jets could be. I don't know, though. I don't know what the Jets are going to do. There's so much happening with the Jets. I don't know. And they just got burned by Justin Fields. So they're obviously one of the teams. Pittsburgh with Mike McCarthy is going to be another team. Maybe if Rodgers comes back, then no. I don't know if Rodgers is going to come back, though. So that's what you got to keep an eye on there. If there's no Rodgers, Pittsburgh's a team to keep an eye on. Cleveland's interesting. They got Sanders. They got Gabriel. Do they feel the need to bring in a third guy? How sold are they on Sanders? I know he's going to the Pro Bowl. So Cleveland's in place. They got a crazy owner, too. Keep an eye on him. The 2 teams I'd really watch out for, though, are Arizona and especially the Vikings. Because I think Arizona is going to have to blow it up and start over. So that's a team, and they are going to move on from Kyler Murray. And that's the other thing. With Murray out there, I could see him with the Jets or Pittsburgh, honestly. Or even the Vikings, maybe. Because he's more established, and he's someone who's going to go somewhere next year and start. So Murray, I could see him with the Jets. I could see him with Pittsburgh if they don't keep Rodgers, and I could definitely see him on the Vikings. The Vikings are the scary team because that's a roster ready to win. That's a roster that knows if they can get the quarterback right, and it looks like J.J. McCarthy might not be the guy. The problem is with J.J. McCarthy, are they going to want to spend, how much will they want to spend to bring someone else in? Willis at 2 years, 40, which I think it'll be in that neighborhood. It might not be exactly that. 2 years, 40, 30 million guaranteed. That might get the Vikings' attention to make a move, and then have J.J. McCarthy and Willis compete. Arizona, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who their head coach is, honestly. So those are the 2 teams I think the most likely. I think Cleveland might sit tight with Sanders and maybe sign a veteran like a Mitchell Trubisky or Marcus Mariota. So they got the 2 young quarterbacks and then have a vet in the room. I could see Cleveland totally going that way. Pittsburgh, I don't know. It's good. I think it'll be Rodgers or Murray, honestly. And the Jets, trying to predict the Jets is almost impossible. So yeah, Patrick, that's what those are the teams I think will be competition for us. Because you look around the rest of the league, the teams need a quarterback. It's not the Patriots. It's not the Bills. It's not the Ravens. Not Cincinnati. Not Jacksonville. Not Houston. Indianapolis is another team I should throw out there. Should throw out the Colts. Colts could be in play. Titans don't need a quarterback. Then out west, Mendoza with the Raiders, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, they're all set. You go to the NFC, Eagles don't, Cowboys don't, Washington doesn't, Giants don't, Bears don't, Packers don't, Lions don't, Panthers don't, Tampa don't. I guess Atlanta's a wild card, but I doubt it. Saints don't. Well, Saints, I guess, are a wild card too, but I think they're pretty happy with Shuck. Seattle, Rams, 49ers, they don't. So it's like, I guess Indianapolis is a team I should have thrown in there. But yeah, those are about it. Jets, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Arizona, Indy. Those would probably be the competition. And the team that kind of scares me a little bit would probably be Minnesota out of that group. If you want them, it would scare you. So yeah, that's kind of where it is there with Willis. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'd be all for it because again, I don't want to tank, and I don't think these guys. First off, me personally, I don't want to tank. Second off, I know these guys won't tank. So if you're rooting for it, you're just wasting your time. They won't tank. Now they might have their hands tied if they can't get Willis to go with Quinn Ewers and like one of those other names I said. Well, that's one thing because their hands are tied because they just can't get anyone. That's different. But I think they're going to try and move heaven and earth to get Willis in Miami. We'll see if it works or not. If it does happen, we'll find out real quick, though. Everyone, thank you for listening. Be sure to check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com. DolphinsTalk.com. We're working through a new redesign of the website, streamline things, make it more reader-friendly. So should have that done in the next, 4 to 5 days or so, I'd say. And it's going to be really cool. I've already seen it, kind of what we're doing. And I have to sign off on it. So I've seen it. And it looks really cool. And I think it's going to be a much more enjoyable experience for the readers. So DolphinsTalk.com, we got a bunch of great articles. We got a bunch of great articles up. Simon Clancy wrote a great article about offensive prospects that are in play for the Dolphins at pick number 11. And Simon knows the draft. So check that out. Pick his article that just went up this afternoon about who are some of the offensive players who are in play at pick number 11 for the Dolphins. Then he's going to write another article about the defensive players if they want to go that way. So check out Simon's article. And we got some other articles up as well. Social media, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads at Dolphins Talk. Make sure you're following us on all the social media platforms at Dolphins Talk. And thank you. I probably don't say enough, but I do thank you each and every day for your support, for you giving us, a half hour or so each day listening to the podcast. Make sure you smash that like button on on YouTube and all that stuff. And without you, there would be no us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are the best. And we do appreciate all the support and loyalty you give us. It's awesome. You guys are great. So thank you again. And we're just getting started here. Free agency will be here before you know it. And then the draft. Senior Bowl stuff, I'll talk about it a little. There's so many guys. That's the problem. And it's like, we're not a draft show. Like, we'll talk about the draft and stuff. We will preview the draft, but we do it where it's Miami Dolphins centric. I just don't want to talk about random players who, to me, that's kind of a waste. But we're going to talk about the draft when we get closer to the draft. I already got a ton of guests lined up. We're going to be okay when it comes to the draft. But like Senior Bowl coverage and stuff, that's really not our thing. But don't worry, we are going to have you covered every which way. Everyone have a great Thursday night. If you're listening on Friday morning, have a great Friday. Got a surprise guest tomorrow. Don't want to say his name and jinx it in case, scheduling things happen and it falls through. But I got a very big guest on Friday that you're all going to love. So be on the lookout for that. And when you're on the roads, as always, please be careful. And remember, we must put an end to highway profanity.